Welcome to August 20th class 2025 Target Marketing Successes and Not Failures. We're not going to be talking about that today. So I'm going to be interviewing Willie here, who has had some real success over the years with using target marketing, but in the last year or two, really been but doing a lot more of it and finding some real success.
Yes.
And when you think of what's involved in this target marketing and the benefits that are gathered, it's just amazing, the amount of work compared to the reward. Better than almost anything you can do in real estate besides talking to your sphere. So let's get into it. First, Willie, thank you for being here. And tell me a little bit first about your background. Let's start there.
So first of all, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to share this. And I appreciate the interest that you and Joe and these folks that are watching have in me and my business. So thank you very much. Mm-hmm. So yes, there has been some success. I've been doing this for 18 years overall, selling houses as a realtor in Middle Tennessee. However, the real education and the real success started about 6 years ago, of course, when I met you and Joe at the staging seminar. And it changed my business, it changed my life, and really just changed my outlook on something that I had already been doing for quite a while. The target marketing, the process, just the business, the brokerage in general is just so far above and so elite that I continue just to be amazed and overwhelmed as each day goes past with just how wonderful it is and how much you and Joe teach and how much I've learned and how much more there is to learn about what needs to be done.
Okay. It started 18 years ago. What was going on in real estate 18 years ago?
So there was a whistling sound that I noticed as I was getting into it and going around and interviewing brokers and getting ready to join. There just continued to be this whistling sound, and it increased in intensity. And as I look back on it now, and of course I knew soon after, it was the market going off the cliff in 2008. And it was a very interesting market then, in that we had so many foreclosures and so many short sales, and there was just, the sky was falling is what was being said. Of course, the sky wasn't falling. It was a major market readjustment that will continue to have ripples and manifestations as we continue away from that. But it was a very good thing for me because it caused me to roll up my sleeves and go to work. That real estate was the only thing that I did, and that was at the behest of the managing broker of the company that I joined, the branch that I joined. He said, no more doing anything else. I was doing contracting work. He said, no doing contracting. If you're going to be a realtor, then be a realtor and be committed and do it full time, and there's your choice. So I took that option. I was a full-time realtor, and it's a funny thing. Every time that I go to Kroger, they want me to pay them money, and I definitely felt that then with that whistling sound going by. So there was more emphasis on rolling the sleeves up and going to work. I joined that company in February of 2008. In 2008, I had sold 8 houses. In 2009, I had 28 and a half transactions, which was a blessing. And I continued to learn and grow from that as days go by.
Even though you weren't with us at that time, I still want to touch base on 28 in 2009, which was for Middle Tennessee, I believe it was the worst year of the crash.
Yes.
Mostly listings or both? Buyers and sellers? Anything that moved. Now, I give credit to any system that works, and I know that you got those because you followed systems. You had systems that you followed at that point.
Yes.
And probably talk a little bit about that today because I know you've brought some of that with you. And I think it's more the habit of doing something consistently.
Yes.
And not giving up when something didn't work, but sticking to it.
That is correct.
Because I do know your history, and I know what some of that was.
Yes.
So and you can bring this in probably to this next question, and I like your approach to client acquisition, or how do you get clients? How do you get people to trust you as a realtor?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and you're saying that exactly right, because they have to trust me as a realtor. And there is a process, but yet there's not a process to how I do that. And before I address that, I'd like to say that back in 2009, in 2008, 2009, I had the benefit of being part of a coach training program, a professional coach training program that was extremely good. It was extremely transactional. And with the transactional portion of that, there was a very definitive, definite process and scheduling and time blocking and discipline, and that benefited me well. What did not benefit me was the transactional part of that. And so I bring that up because the approach to client acquisition for me, it's not really about attaining clients, it's about meeting more people and talking to them and being genuinely interested in whatever it is that they have going on in their life. Because if I'm able to talk to them and I'm able to understand, sympathize, empathize, and then be able to help them with whatever it is that they need, maybe that's just listening to them. Maybe it's putting up a barn door. Maybe it's doing whatever. It's cutting their grass. Whatever that is, if I can find a need that I can help those people, I'm going to be blessed by that. They're going to be blessed by that. And that's going to start that relationship. And that's really what's key to client acquisition. It's not acquiring a client. It's acquiring a new friend, a new relationship, and really going forward with that relationship, serving that person and benefiting from that relationship. As that goes on, everyone has a need to buy and sell property. And even if they're not buying and selling, they have a need they need a new floor, they need a new roof, or something sprung a leak or whatever. And of course, with what you and Joe teach about the sources of wealth, I'm right there to be able to help them with those things. So it's all about relationships, getting to know people, finding out a way that I can help them, continuing to help them, and the sales will come because of the trust that's built through that relationship.
And so you mentioned something that everybody has a need to buy and sell a home, but they might not need to do it right then.
Correct.
And that is the beauty of working by recommendation, because they're going to refer you or recommend you to their friends and family, and that's really how this business really works. That's the multiplier.
That's
I think that a lot of
100%.
people don't understand that's the multiplier.
Yeah. If you don't do that, Cindy, and I've heard several people say this, and Joe will say this from time to time, if you're not relational, then you're transactional, or you're not at all, which is even worse. But if you're transactional, you wake up every morning unemployed, and I don't like that feeling. Having the relationships, I wake up every morning having things to do, to move to, people to talk to, and it's an absolute, again, blessing and pleasure.
I'm going to move real quick because this is target marketing. I keep wanting to talk about that other system, but that's going to be covered in, of course, Joe's Reach class that's coming up.
Sure.
But so your approach to target marketing, like circle processing, the process, and recent examples of your success. So if y'all don't know, we do teach a target marketing class that's using current listings or closed listings, and sometimes not using your own, using others in Nashville Realty Group, or even other listings and other that are closing and other brokerages. It's a whole class in itself that Joe teaches. But let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing in target marketing. And I'm just going to let you take that ball and run with it because you've done a bunch of different target marketings and circle prospecting. So go for it.
So the circle prospecting is something that, of course, this is Joe's invention. And Joe started talking to me about that probably about 3 years ago. And I really liked the concept. It makes a ton of sense. And slowly over time, working with Joe, I've been able to get into it, try it a little bit, maybe perfect it just a little bit and when I say by perfecting is perfect it for me so that it's more from me. And so I've gotten that now to the point where I feel like I've got a pretty good process, again, based upon what Joe had invented and taught me. And what that is, that's getting a listing, and I'm just going to start at that point, getting a listing and then making sure that the neighbors know, the world knows that I have been charged with the responsibility. I've been trusted with the responsibility of listing that home. I'm going to send out a letter, and what I'm going to do is target those people who would typically drive by my sign. So they're going to see that house is for sale. I'm going to send that letter. So they're going to pull that letter out of the mailbox. They're going to open it up and read it. They're going to say, oh, yeah. And then what happens is every time they drive by my sign, they think about me. They think about that letter. And that's really just kind of where that is. It sits, it marinates a little bit in there, lets them think about it. From that point, then, I'm going to let them know when we have an open house. And I can do that in a couple different ways. Speaking of circle prospecting and sending letters out, I can do that to send another letter about the open house. So again, I've reached out and I'm going to call it stamping their brain. I've stamped their brain with Nashville Realty Group. I've stamped their brain with Willie Mangrum, and I've stamped their brain with the fact that Willie Mangrum's in the neighborhood and Willie Mangrum's working. So that would be another opportunity. There's also going to be an opportunity when the property goes under contract. There's a property when the house closes to be able to send out that very same letter. In addition, I also have where I use door hangers, and I will go around, and these are self-generated, they're self-made, and the cost is extremely low because I don't mail these. So it's simply the cost of printing and the cost of paper, which is next to nothing when you compare, I think it's, what is it now, a 74 or 78 cent, whatever stamp that it is. So it's very economical, and it's colorful, it hits hard, and what I simply do is generate those, and I'll put those on the front doors of all of the people who are going to be in the market or the area, excuse me, where I really want to pull them into an open house. So I'm not going to go deep into that, but the door hangers work very effectively in addition to this, in addition to the mailing. So let's go back to, so we've got a just listed, we've got an open house, we've got an under contract, and we've got a sold. And of course, the sold being the most powerful of those, because there's nothing that's better advertising than a sold sign in a front yard or a letter saying sold and them seeing the ramifications of that. So I've touched them now 4 times with this circle prospecting. And what recently happened was I sold a house in Christiana. It sold for 1.335, and I did those steps. I did all of those steps. I had open houses, not every weekend because there were a few weekends when it wasn't possible, but I believe I had 5 open houses there. 3 of which, the first 3, it rained as...
Oh, back in that rainy time.
Yeah, I think they had made calls to Noah. It rained so much during that time. And I did not have good attendance. As a matter of fact, the attendance was very sparse. And it concerned me a little bit, but knowing that I had put out 42 signs for this particular open house consistently, that was down each time. Down, of course, in the yard, down a private road, it's 1.2 miles long, then out on the country roads and out on the state highway, which is Church Street, Highway 231 in Murfreesboro, and then heads into Christiana. I put out all those signs and in what I call rooster tail flags and that sort of thing. And neighbors are driving by there routinely, and they're seeing that. And I'm trusting in what Joe and you have taught me, that there is no wasted time in an open house or with an open house, because you're, again, and I use the term stamping brains, I was stamping those people's brains, the neighbors, as they went by. So it was very good, and I know that it was very good because at the end of all that, I sent out a closed, we've got that sold now, letter, and I know the very day that it arrived in their mailboxes, because that day, it was a Thursday, I got a call from the people who were about 2/10 of a mile down at the very end in the cul-de-sac of this private road. And they wanted me to come over and look at their house and just talk to them about what may or may not work for me to be able to list their house and get it sold. They have been trying to sell their house with another agent for approximately a year, and they have been unsuccessful. And so I agreed that I would do that. And the opportunity was to go over there on a Monday morning, and Miss homeowner, was getting ready to go on some type of an annual trek vacation that she attends with her friends. She was going to fly out Monday afternoon. They had guests in. It was just all kinds of different things, and the cards were stacked against me, to be honest with you. But I just told her, I said, listen, I'd really come over on Monday, and however much time you have, please just allow me that. I won't go over, I promise you, just unless you want me to, but I'm going to come in, I'm going to do that. She said, I could meet with you on Monday, but I've only got 30 minutes. And I wanted to meet with her and her husband, the two decision makers at one time. That's why I was so intent upon that. And so she granted me those 30 minutes. When I got there, they met me at the door. They were extremely cordial. They really wanted to know what is he going to show us? What is he going to tell us? Because we want to know what he did to get that house sold. We didn't think houses would sell in this neighborhood. And these are some of the things that they said. We really want to know. They asked me, do you want to go on a tour? Do you want to sit down? No, let's go on a tour first. And I invited them to show me their property, which is a 3,400 square foot house. It has almost a 700 square foot guest house that's attached to it. It has a oversized 3-car Morton building detached, and it has this just great pool deck and saltwater pool. So we went and we looked at all that, and during the tour, they were presenting their home to me, and as they were presenting their home, they kept bringing up different aspects that were just 100% part of my listing conversation. I don't have a listing presentation, I have a listing conversation, which is also Joe's material. And so I used that. I had the book, something, I did not open that book, and I covered, golly, probably 80 or more % of what's in that book, simply because they would ask me a question and I would give them an answer. I did not present one thing, not one, the entire time that I was there. Again, they gave me 30 minutes, and I was there for 2 hours and 20 minutes with him still grabbing a hold of me, figuratively grabbing a hold of me, and not really wanting to let go at the end, which I was completely shocked at. But they were so interested in everything that had happened and what I might be able to do for them. And of course, it's not me, it's the process, and it's how the process works. They were so interested in that, that's how long it took. They were sorry that they didn't have more time for me that day. I was not prepared with listing paperwork, which is shame on me, but it was probably a blessing, because another thing that you and Joe teach is don't go over and take too much time. And I did things in reverse. Typically, you would get the listing agreement signed and then you would tour, but it worked much in my favor to tour first. That allowed the conversation, and then I went back the next day and listed the house. That house is listed at 1.495, just shy of 1.5 million. It's coming soon right now, and I'm really looking forward to what may happen. Since they saw the signs, and that's what really did it. All the neighbors were buzzing about the signs and these rooster tails. And what is wrong with that crazy agent? Doesn't he know that it's raining and it's raining and it's raining? Why doesn't he just pack up and go home? I didn't know that I was going to get this listing, but again, I trust in the system, and I knew that was the right thing to do, and that trust paid off.
Yeah, so it just went coming soon. Last night, this morning?
It went coming soon yesterday.
Okay, yesterday.
Yeah.
1825 N or North.
Lovern Road, 1825 North Lovern Road, and that's in Christiana, which is just south of Murfreesboro, just off Highway 230.
And it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
Like the little guest house and everything going on.
Yeah.
And that's all through this kind of circle prospecting, and that might not target marketing is circle prospecting, where you used your other listing to market to that particular neighborhood, and your signs.
And the signs.
Your signs. I know that everybody, we're going to have open house class at noon today, so please come in if you've forgotten all this, or if you've not, I think you've all taken the class except for one person, but come on back in for a reminder, because it's all about the signs. And we know it's tiring now. As far as I'm concerned, it's only tiring when I'm thinking about it. Once I'm out doing it, it's not tiring at all. It's like a challenge to see how many signs I can get out, and then if I can remember where I put them all in, to pick them up. And so what if they get left? Somebody will call me and I'll go pick it up. That's great.
It exactly.
It's another opportunity to talk to somebody. I can't stress that important. I'm going to go off a little, the importance of those signs. And as you said, because it's the truth, you can have 0 people come to your open house. It wasn't a waste if you put enough signs out.
Correct.
Now, and especially if you followed up with, maybe you door knocked the 10 houses around it, or even 20, and that's not a lot of houses. No. And gave them invitations or door hangers or whatever that looks like. And our sparklies, man, there's some copycats out there with our sparklies, and that really ticks me off. But use your sparklies, it matters.
So here's the thing on those sparklies. You can see those, and I've proven this to myself. If it's a really flat road without much obstruction, you can see those literally from a mile off. You can see them twinkle, and people are going to copy us, and they're going to copy what we're doing.
Flattery.
And good for you and Joe for bringing that whole program forward, because the more time that goes by and the more open houses that I do, and it's interesting, in that particular area, I notice it. The more open houses that I do, the more I will see that their materials look like my materials, which is really your materials. So they're continuing to copy, and copying is the best form of flattery. And no one has a process, and no one does it like Joe and Cindy's Nashville Realty Group process. Yeah. And Pat Head Summit said, the coach of the UT ladies that won all those basketball championships, she said, I don't care if my competitors see what I do, and that she said, there's no trade secrets here. Yeah. She said, I'm just straight up going to outwork you. And not only that, but even if I show it to you as part of that outworking, I doubt that you have the discipline to do it anyway. So it's all about discipline and getting it done.
And doing it. It's not about, man, you just have to do it. It works every time.
Yes.
What you just said, I remember when I was trainer in Austin at the Keller Williams home office, there was an agent that we were doing a class on prospecting, and she was doing it, and another agent came up and said, aren't you afraid of giving away all your secrets? And she said, no, because nobody's gonna follow through.
Nope.
Because very few people are ever gonna follow through, so it's not gonna be competition. Now, of course, we were in the back room behind the stage, and I was like, ooh, that's brutal, but it's the truth. That's the absolute truth.
It's very true.
So,
what's your record for signs?
what's your record number of signs?
So I was a little bit disappointed in myself with the 42 because, and I won't go into it other than to say this, I was able to reach up north into Murfreesboro to a certain point, but there is just an absolute, what I think is an absolute sweet spot, fat spot that's north of where I stopped and where 24 goes across 231. And I wasn't able to cover that really highly dense area there, densely populated area. So what I did was I got more signs, and I'm now at 65 in terms of what I carry in my truck. And I have actually gotten that 65th sign out at one point in some of the things that I've done. So 65 is my number at this point. And sometimes that I just had an open house in McEwen, and this one's near and dear to me because the property belongs to my daughter and son-in-law, and they've done a fabulous job. And believe it or not, they did everything that I told them to do. And I wasn't sure, that's in McEwen and that's a different market and that sort of thing. But I went and I did an open house, and I put out 38 signs there. And the reason why I put that out was because there really wasn't an opportunity with the way that is in State Highway and all that sort of thing. That was the right number, and I really had it blanketed and covered. That open house, we wound up getting an offer on it right before I had the open house on Saturday. And then I had 3 people, 3 buying units, if you will, 3 lines on my sign-in sheet filled. And one of them was the offer people, and then the other 2 actually wound up writing offers. Each one of them wrote an offer. We hear the market's down, and we hear that things aren't good, and we have to just be begging and feeling so lucky that we got a contract or we got an offer. And I'm just going to tell you that the market's better than that. And if you do these steps, not guaranteed, but if you do these steps, you may in fact get multiple offers, because I just had a 3-offer, multiple offer situation for, most people don't even know where McEwen is. It's go to Dixon and keep going west just a little bit more is where that is. But multiple offers will come. And again, the marketing, the signs, and getting things out was the key to getting those offers.
Awesome. So we're going to go back to target marketing a little bit. Going to go off this. Have you done, I believe you do this with almost every listing. It's a announcement. You do a mail announcement.
I do.
And you do letters.
I do.
Because it's more expensive, but it's easier to print a letter and put it in an envelope, address,
Yes.
and get it out there. Then postcards, of course, are less expensive, but they're just not your choice. And I think postcards might change or save you a little bit of money on
Yeah.
a little bit of it, but
Letters hit harder.
because they feel it. Do you put your return address, this return address, you put Willie Mangrum, Nashville Realty Group, and
Yes.
this address is your return, so it's coming, doesn't look, do you use a real stamp?
I use a real stamp.
Okay, so it's not like a postal,
It's not.
which always makes it look suspicious. People are gonna open that. Your approach to, we did cover this, but anything you want to add to your approach to the door hangers and the processes, and we did talk about your recent. Now, it's not just your recent success. You have had multiple, I know you've gone on, these people haven't listed their homes yet, but you've gone on several interviews in areas where you've done the same thing.
That's
Where
correct.
people have just talked to you about future.
Yes.
So you've put them in your, I hate the word pipeline, but you've add them to your sphere. And
I do.
You keep, just so y'all know, Willie does do a monthly mailer to everybody, follows it up with an email and personal notes. You and a couple other agents in the office that do the personal notes, you really shine at that. So that,
Thank you.
You want to talk for a minute about that? Maybe you don't get a listing, but you go, just tell me some of your experiences with that and adding these people to your.
Yeah, adding people to the database is huge because and it's not every month, it's every day, it's every week. There are people that are either jumping off my list or they're heading towards that point where I'm going to push them off my list because life happens, right? People move out of town or whatever may happen, right? So the database naturally is going to shrink just because of attrition. So if I think about that as that's happening literally minute by minute, day by day, week by week, if I use that same concept of it shrinking in that, with that regularity, if I try to add and I think about adding with that regularity, then what's going to happen is not only can I maintain my database, but I can strengthen my database in that number. And what I really mean by that is it's not so much the database itself, although you have to be feeding it, but it's those monthly mailers. And I have a different monthly mailer that I use for the very first mailer that I send to someone. And it explains the system, it explains the process, and makes them feel special that they're able to get in on this information. So I will put them on there, and anyone that I'm going to go and do a listing presentation to, and again, it's not a presentation, but it's a conversation, anyone that I'm going to have that relationship with, they're going to wind up being part of that monthly mailer. Those people that get tired and fall out of touch or whatever happens, I'm going to pull them off, and I'll pull off sometimes one, sometimes I'll pull off 5 people in a month off of the monthly mailer list, if you will. But that list doesn't really vary too much in terms of number because I'm continually adding. And I'm continually adding because I'm continually meeting people and talking to them. And I'm not looking to sell them a house. I'm just looking to get to know them. And as that number increases, then so do the number of opportunities that I have to talk about real estate, which gets me to where they're now a candidate for the monthly mailer. It's not something that I work on 1 week a month or I work on 1 day a week or anything like that. The results may come once a month in terms of who's on and who's off and that sort of thing. But those things are all done literally on a day-by-day basis as I'm meeting those people and life happens to not only me, but to those people that are on my list.
And what is that number?
That number's going to be in the low 90s. It consistently stays at the low 90s. I have gotten up to 102 because the Buffini people always give you a few extra IOVs. The number has gotten to 102, and I have been in the mid 80s. So there is some fluctuation, but usually I'm somewhere 92, 93.
So it's not these thousands of people that a lot of times you'll hear on agents talk about, or even hundreds and hundreds. It's a good living they say if you get 100, oh man, Joe, you're going to have to chime in here. 100 A pluses.
In a normal market, 100 A pluses will get you anywhere from 25 to 30 transactions a year.
So 100
True A pluses.
100 A pluses will get you anywhere from 25 to 30 transactions a year. A plus is somebody that has given you a referral, has referred you to somebody. And it's not hard to get there if you become somebody's trusted real estate advisor.
Absolutely.
But let's get
and before we go away, Joe's number 30 transactions in a year, and this is being conservative at $10,000 commission per transaction, is 300 grand.
300 grand. That's a nice living,
Yeah.
and that's also not a hard. I was going to say it. The hard part is each individual transaction might have some difficulties, but you're not doing the crazy, and you've been in it enough, and I know who the coaching company was, and I know some of the activities you've had to do in the past. It's not the crazy go knock on 1,000 doors, useless conversations, or the skeevy, I'm going to turn my name tag upside down so somebody tells me it's upside down to start a conversation, or the useless stuff. It's real relationships that are really easy to maintain.
Correct.
By you being the real estate professional in their life. Yeah. Let's get back to target marketing. Any other thoughts on target marketing that you want to share, and maybe things that you've done and encourage? Because I think the real kind of miss is that touching these people around, if it's not your listing, and we have 27 now we have 29, I think, 29 residential listings active, Nashville Realty Group, that almost all of them have the opportunity to have an open house set, that people could be doing these knock on the door and invite them to a neighborhood only, or some other thoughts, just marketing to them as. Thoughts on that? Any other target marketing things that you've experienced or want to encourage?
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint here because I'm going to say no.
Oh,
and the reason for
you
that,
do a lot already.
the reason for that is that I don't really do that many things. But what I've learned from Joe is that get those things that work for you, and that might be 3, that might be 4, that might be 5 things, but it's not 12, and it's definitely not 100. It's a very small number. Do them well and do them very consistently. So narrow and very deep, and then trust, and just know that that's where that is. And in doing that, I just want to bring something up. I sat in a meeting a couple years ago, and I listened to agents talk, and we were going through something where, golly, numbers just weren't where they had been the previous year, and there was some concern, and that's what the focus of the meeting was. And there was something in there, I don't think that I'll ever forget this. And the topic of the conversation turned to having lists, mailing lists. And it was brought up that these are the people that I mail to, and talked a little bit more. And then it was said, I've got this list over here that's my Christmas card list. And these are top producing agents. These are big time, heavy duty agents, right? Who, and they were talking about this, and I don't know, almost incredulously, it just snuck out of my mouth. I said, I don't understand the 2 lists. Shouldn't that just be 1 list? And so I'm saying that because I think that really, as we're talking about all this, that is, if you can remember that principle, I think that all this other stuff will fall in place. Don't have a list for this and a list for that and a list for that. Sell to your friends. Don't let friends hire crappy real estate agents. That's just the way that it is. So be their friend and do what a friend would do. Step up. It'll make you better. It makes me better as a real estate agent, because those are my friends. These aren't people that after this transaction is done, I'm never going to see again. I'm going to see them a whole bunch of different events and different things, and I want to do an excellent job for them. My daughter and son-in-law, I'm hoping that after I sell their house and all that goes, I'm hoping they still want to see me again, because that's important, right? And obviously I'm joking, but it'll make you step up and it'll make you be a better agent. I want to tell just a quick story here, if I may. And I had shared this with you and Joe yesterday. I didn't do an open house this past weekend, which is a little bit unusual because I've got different things and different listings going on now. I'm being blessed richly. But I didn't do an open house this past weekend, and part of the reason for that is that when I do an open house, it's Saturday and Sunday, and to me, that's an open house. And there's reasons for that, and we can talk about that some other time, but an open house to me is Saturday and Sunday. And on Saturday, I wasn't going to be able to do the open house, so I just set that up that I was basically going to take the weekend off, if you will. The reason why I couldn't do the open house on Saturday was I was invited to this huge Italian family to a wedding of one of the members of that house, which and that was a bride and groom, and this is weird, but the bride is a cousin of the Miss homeowner, if you will, and the groom is a cousin of Mr. So there's no common blood, but that's how they met. So it was a huge family event and very close, very that sort of thing. And I was invited to go to that. And I was honored, I was blessed, and
Now, wait, I want to let everybody know, you were invited because you were the realtor for the family members. That's how you know these people.
I am the realtor for the family members. And the way that I became a realtor for the family members is the patriarch, who is now with the Lord, but the patriarch saw me putting out open house signs in my neighborhood. And he couldn't help himself. He come over and he's asking me questions. So I talked to him for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, is with half a sign in the yard, if you will, or on the corner there. I chatted with him and then he left, and I finished putting the sign back up. In a couple weeks, I saw him again. And before I know it, I'm down listing a rental house for them. And then I'm helping with this and I'm helping with that. And I don't know, I think I'm somewhere around 5 or 6 transactions with that family now. And the bride, she actually moved here from California about a year ago, and I helped her family buy her a place down just outside Pulaski. And with everything that's happened in the last year, now she wants to be closer to the family and move and that sort of thing. So we found her a house in Southern Columbia that she really loves. And that house is now going to be her and her husband's house. So they're moving in there. They're going to get some things fixed up for the house in Pulaski, and then I'm going to sell that property. So I was invited to this wedding, and I'm shaking hands and I'm talking to people. And I had a guest there with me that I was introducing, and without question, without reservation, without exception is what I'm trying to say, every one of those family members that I stuck out my hand and I introduced, that family member came back and told my guest, "We love Willie. He may not be part of our blood family, but he's part of our family." And I said, "Thank you. I really appreciate being here and allowing us to be here." And they said, "We would have it no other way. We would be severely disappointed if you weren't here to celebrate this family occasion." And maybe those are just words, but to me, they touch my heart. And I think that just goes to show what being genuine and caring for others will do for you, because they care for me. And there's no commission that's ever going to be worth more than that. So,
That
yeah.
you became part of a family
Yes,
because you were putting a sign in the yard and you talked to somebody
correct.
and then you went on to help them. And I
Yes.
heard help because I know you've done multiple things other than real estate for this, help them with all kinds of things. Okay, so that, we're getting off our target marketing, but it all ties back to this. Target marketing is to help you get these people into your sphere. I hate calling it a database when it's that personal, because that's the whole point. Is if you all are struggling with getting people into that database, you moved here from somewhere else, or you just don't know, man, target marketing is a way to really start adding people into that database and meeting more people.
Yes.
And there's an old saying, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince. And I think that in our modern day, people don't understand the number of people you do need to talk to and be in front of to get those princes in your database. So the more people you talk to, the more you're going to get in your database.
Absolutely. And rather than thinking about, you got to kiss a lot of frogs, think about this. Yeah, you do have to kiss a lot of frogs, but when you kiss those frogs, when you found the prince or princess, and that makes kissing those frogs worth it.
I also don't like it because I feel that almost everybody,
Yes.
They themselves have a need for housing, and everybody they know. We don't have a product that is limited to the few. We have a product that is every single person.
Yes.
Every single person. And so back to target marketing, because we keep going off course. Come to the target marketing class. We'll have it again very soon. I just feel like, especially if you're a new agent, you're lacking on that database or some inspiration. And there's ways you can do it that maybe there's mailing. There's also real target marketing. Joe teaches about how to even drill it down to, you mentioned that sometimes you cherry pick. We have the silver tsunami that I think is a really missed, the boomers that need to move out of their houses and are being a little reluctant. they have money to buy something else, and now with the market that we have, there's opportunity for that. And if they price their home correctly, they'll get it sold. But target marketing, I think, is something we really need to add to help add to our database.
Yes.
Anything anybody else in the room want to add to that, into what we've spoken about today? No? Okay.
So, Cindy, one thing I want to say is Joe does have many different avenues that we can choose to travel in doing target marketing. I don't really pursue a lot of other things because I pursue just a couple, this being the main one. And the reason why I pursue this so vigorously is that there's nothing like seeing the proof in the pudding. There's nothing like seeing the results. There's nothing like seeing a worker work. That's the proof. And we sell houses, and all of us, and the way that we sell houses is we talk to people, we put signs in yards, we have things that change because we'll put different riders on those signs, coming soon. And then, of course, we don't have one for sale, but then under contract and sold and that sort of thing. And a lot of agents don't use those, but at least figuratively, those are the stages that we're going through. And as people see that, they see that realtor working, they see those open house signs, they see that realtor working, they see that realtor picking up those signs or doing this or doing that. They see that realtor working. I keep saying that, seeing that realtor working. My advice to everyone who's seeing this, my advice to myself is make sure that as many people as possible see you working. So that means being on Facebook and doing postings and doing that sort of thing. But really and truly, it's get in a house, do an open house, and do it the right way so that people see your signs, they see you, they see your name, they see you working, and then use that to springboard and get the leverage. Because it's tough today being able to break in and be able to do that, but there is a perfect process for that breaking in, and that's putting your sign in the yard, putting your signs up on 40 corners or whatever that case may be, and let those people see you working. So I think you said 28, 29 active listings now. There's huge opportunity there because something that I've done and faded away just because of how busy that I've been, but I'm planning on going back to it, is posting one of the listings using Bold Trail, posting that in Facebook, using the tools again in Bold Trails, posting that every day. It's not my listing.
It's the brokerage.
It's the brokerages, right? It's other agents in here in doing that. So that's one way that people will see you working. And then if we've got 28, 29 listings, I'm going to say that we've got at least, 20 to 25 opportunities for an open house every weekend.
Yes, and I think we do because people now that the market has slowed are starting to ask for them more. And you've got a Saturday and a Sunday, and we used to love doing Friday night ones and other opportunities. You can do target marketing even if it's not your listing. Please call Joe to help. He will help you walk it through it. We have ways to do it that are very inexpensive. And those are the residential listings, y'all. We also have land listings that I know they would love for you to be marketing those on doing not so much the open house, even though in Texas I used to do open houses on land all the time. I had a pop-up tent, and it was a whole nother, I think we've taught it a few times. It was a whole nother, people freaked out because they couldn't believe we were doing that. So something else to do. But target marketing, call Joe, we'll have the class. We have we have so many listings now that you all could be doing this for.
Yes.
So in target marketing, it shows your seller. So I'm going to end with this. It shows your seller that you are working and marketing their listing. There's no question that people didn't know that home was available, and it leaves them with, unfortunately, the only answer with some of these homes, if the condition is great, can't change the location, those price reductions that we're going to have to be getting because we are going to be hitting a stagnant market probably. If they lower the interest rate, it's for 2 years. If we don't have some movement in the lower interest rate, we are going to be hitting a stagnant market. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It just gives opportunity for those that know what we're doing. Probably about 5 years, we're not going to see prices increase. We will have sales. It's not a crash. It's an adjustment. And those of us that are ahead of that curve are going to do well. Those that don't understand it, target marketing helps you with your sellers to justify why you're asking for that price reduction, which is sometimes the only way to get some of these sold. If we don't have anything else to add for target marketing, watch for classes coming up. Thank you all for joining us today. Come in at noon for a live open house class. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.